Hello, everybody, and welcome to week whatever I put in the title. 9? I think it's 9.
Probably.
I think it's 9.
You put week 9.
That makes sense.
The week 9 preview.
Yes, that makes sense. Okay, week 9 of Steakdorra the Explorers review REL season 15, division 1 and 2A. We're going to do things a little bit differently this week, mostly because Shadorra has another commitment that he would like to attend. So our time is...
I need to disassemble my streaming stuff and bring it out into the living room to do it, and it will not... We don't have enough time if we do the recap.
So we're cutting things a little bit short. Or mainly what we're doing is we're going to look at the results and do predictions. Like, we're just going to do the second half right away, and then Shadorra is going to bounce to go do his other commitment that isn't Blood Bowl, like some sort of jerk. And I'll just watch a game by myself and chill out with you guys. So during the course of the stream, if you guys have any suggestions of matches you want to watch, I'd be willing to just accept a recommendation. I have one in mind if we don't come up with something cool, but since this is going to be a little bit less recappy and a little bit more regular Steakmittens stream at the end of it, where it's just sort of me hanging out with people in chat, I'm willing to sort of accept suggestions for that. Yeah, Uber, Unseen Walker, and I can all be in the Sad Boy Club together with how well our seasons are going. Recap. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the match results. We're going to predict like we normally would in the second half, and then Shadorra's going to bounce out, and I'll watch a game with you guys. And if you want to watch one in particular, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I have one in mind. So let's get into it, shall we?
Sure.
The Tower of the Sun, Voltrek's Vanguard Stadium, versus Mongoose is Loose, Volcano. It took, like, some of these wanted posters are like models, but this one's just a guy. Like, that's just some dude. Like, this is a pro elf, that's like the standard human art, that's an orc. That's just a dude. Like, that's just a portrait of some guy on the dev team or something. Like, who is that? There's also a few on the side. If you zoom in on the side of that tower while you're in like the game view, there's other ones that are just people's faces, which is a fun little Easter egg. There's the stripy pajama goblin. There's another episode of the RPG on Saturday if you're interested, by the way. Triumphant return against some chorfs, actually, for the Missville Mavericks. Okay. So we've got Ramaset has got a babe for this. Is really the only thing we have in terms of inducements. Yeah, if you view from the other angle and look at the other side of that tower, there are other posters. Like, you can see them here too. This one, like, here's another one. It's just a dude. Look, that's just a guy. Anyway. The things I notice, right? Compared to people who care a bit more about Blood Bowl than I do. It's very funny. Oh, thank you. I've been brought apple brandy. Is it apple? I thought it was just regular apple brandy, not sweet apple brandy. Oh, sweet apple brandy. Cheers. I don't think it's a sweet apple brandy because Sam said that he found it too sweet, so he got the regular one. And it's regular apple brandy. Extra reroll to Ramaset in the Voltrek's Vanguard. The Hobgoblin tries to just catch it and we fail. The very, very like stacked LOS from the Chorfs here. And we begin with just a straight up injury from it's Demon Ball, right? Yeah, the super killer Chorf. Not a good start. Now pushes. Going to survive the LOS hits, and then we will be pretty okay for the rest of it. But that's two LOS elves down already. You know, once the Chorfs get their hits off, they'll be good defensively, but a lot less so offensively, because they just don't have the movement to sort of chase after the elves. But the elves do have to take LOS blocks, because that's how Blood Bowl works. Zoom in a bit to make these skills easier to read. Hobgoblin Blitz! Please don't tell me it's the Hobgoblin what done it. No, he's okay. We could foul that elf, but it's just a loner. And you might consider it, trying to just get rid of players, and this Hobgoblin isn't going to do very much else useful. But I don't think I would. So we're gonna be carrying on the bull centaur then, and I think that's smart. We're just gonna like protect the ball as much as we can before we get it, so that the elves, no matter where the scatter goes, unless we're crazy unlucky, the elves have a hard time picking up the ball, and carrying on the strength 4 negates this guy's advantage pretty seriously. Given that none of your hobgoblins have block, like just the strength 4 leap into the cage block tackle on any of the hobgoblins is pretty likely to pop the ball free. And then we can take advantage of that with like the agi catcher, for example. So I think trying to carry on the bull centaur is a good idea, especially since you get the free reroll with picking up. It means you might have to waste a turn or two early on just trying to get the ball, but as long as you're super safe with like your hobgoblins to just keep positioning well, and just going after elves with the chorfs, you'll probably be okay. The one really scary thing here is that because we failed the pickup that was so close to the LOS, or sorry, the sidelines, this ball has a 3, and if we fail the pickup, there's like a 3 and 8 of it scattering out, and if it scatters over here or back here, it's done. Like, the chorfs are just real sad. But what are the chances that we don't roll a 5 on 4 or 4 plus on 4 dice? Not great. And then even if we do fail, there's a 5 and 8 that it doesn't scatter out. And if it does scatter out, at least some of them are still reasonable. Like, it's really scary, and it's the kind of dice roll you don't want to make as the bash coach, because you're like, oh man, if this fails I lose, if this fails I lose, if this fails I lose, and it feels so bad. So that's why I think he goes for it with the hobgoblin, just trying to make sure we get it. But that's really scary. But I don't know. I think it's fine because we can get ourselves in a guard corner, so the strength 4 leap is not really that scary. Because we have the guard chorfs available, so I think that's that's well played, I think, by Mongoose. And if we can't keep the hobgoblin in a guard cage basically at all times, he's pretty vulnerable to the elves. Elves doing some bashing of their own. They're getting quite a few knockdowns here. Stun on the piling on Chorf. It's pretty useful because he's not going to hit back. And the only mighty blow hit we're actually taking this turn is a blitz, which is really nice for the elves. When there's this much claw mighty blow on the opposing team and you're only taking 1 in a turn, you've done something right. Well, that's a problem though. Thrower dead. Apo into not dead. But that's a player off for the drive, and it's a useful player at that. I mean, all the elves are useful, really, but he's one of the ones that can pretty easily take advantage of a loose ball, right? We have the sure hands for recovering. We have blodge. We have the pass and accurate just to get the ball away from wherever it is. Him and the agi piece together are pretty good at sort of recovery if anything ever goes wrong for the chorfs. I'm going to keep using the mighty blow to hit what we can. And then do our best to not take too many hits. We get to block this guy back. We have to do it with a loner, but, you know, a push means that we don't take another free Claw Mighty Blow. Although a both down skull means we take a Claw Mighty Blow. We can't get piled on, though. When I'm talking a lot and thirsty, apple brandy is definitely not the correct choice. But hey, it's delicious, so what am I to, who am I to complain? It's very strong. Like these, the brandy glasses that are like super open with the huge, I don't know, glass parts. The open bit, it's very big. So when you put your face to it, your nose is like fully enveloped and it just like nails you really hard. But but then it's also very sweet and tasty and appley afterwards. You just can't take like too big a breath in when you're getting close to drinking. You get a real shot of that nose burny alcohol. Another both down. At least this time we have blocks, so we're not taking the claw in return, but it means that we're gonna take one next turn. because we can't get players off of it, and he's not on the floor. So we're probably going to take 2 Claw Mighty Blow hits next turn. The thing is, though, the Chorfs aren't really making any progress, right? So the Elves are just going to continue getting in the way, blitzing one guy a turn, trying to prevent as many hits as possible, and just always having this guy as a threat. If the Chorfs ever break this cage, the Elves can just leap in, and they're going to have a hard time. Right? And we're even making it awkward here. So, and I think we're thinking that for the Chorfs, right? The Chorfs basically need to take this cage and move it up as far as they can every turn. And putting an elf on the corner is taking away one of the players for that cage. And we might not be able to make the full cage that we'd like to, at least not as far up as we'd like. The problem is we did just not go over that elf. So we can just kind of ignore this Hobgoblin for now, and we can make the full guard cage quite a bit up the field, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 for that guard piece. To go here, and we have guard corners. Not quite. Oh, yes, we do. This is the weak spot now, and we can't really do much about that right now. There's the Bull Centaur, I suppose. He's going to have to GFI again to finish that. Yeah, there we go. But the sort of the 3-player thing here can theoretically allow a bit of a weird chain push possibility, but not given that we don't have any like free blocks in the cage. There's not much we can really do with that. Right, so we could block. Oh, going for the leap. Just taking the 1 die, and we get it. So we have like the sort of elf scoring threat, and it's staying back there in case we can recover. It's going to be a bit tough to recover this now. That is too many dice, I think. Can we make it around the back? No. This guy can, though, with some dice. And once again, this is a 3 and 8 to scatter out even if we fail it. But if we do make it, right, this is a 3+ pickup, 3+ pass, so we can just get the ball in an annoying spot. Was that dodge worth doing? I mean, it must have, otherwise he wouldn't have done it. Like, it prevents you from getting surfed, I think, is the idea. Because I don't think it makes the pass any better. But we can still surf if we're willing to blitz him, but we are not. Clear up the ball. We can block this piece, and then we pick it up again. The Chorfs are under a little bit of pressure, given that they have 3 turns now to score, and they're not scoring this turn. So if the Elves just do that sort of thing again, if the Chorfs can't recover and become very safe in this turn, the Elves might be able to just do something like this again. Obviously not with the Strength 4 guy, because he's stunned. But they might be able to do something like that again, which makes and if the Chorfs just have another awkward turn they have to play, they may not be in the best position to score on turn 8. Do we get another Claw Mighty Blow hit, this time on the Mighty Blow player, who's the Hobgoblin Hunter. Okay, dodge Hobgoblin, fails the pickup. We're going to have to reroll that. Failed, double 1s. That is 4 1s on the pickup. The pickups for Volcano. I mean, the first pickup was with a Bull Centaur with short hands, but he did roll double 1s, if you want to scroll all the way back. So we can chain push here, or not chain push, but we can push onto the ball, scatter the ball. Words are difficult. Leave me alone. It could scatter out, and then if it scatters back here, that is not great for the Chorfs. Yeah, we go get a scoring threat now, and this Agi piece is going to be like, bye, this ball is mine. Try to protect the scoring threat by marking off the Hobgoblin. Failed the dodge. We probably want to reroll this. Yeah, that's the last useful thing we're doing. Goes to the pass now, which makes sense, because otherwise the Bull Centaur is just going to be able to blitz. We don't have great recovery other than this Hobgoblin, I think, for the Chorfs. We might even have to just do it with the Bull Centaur. Like, I think we put like a Hobgoblin in scoring range, maybe even 2. Once we block this guy, we can put another one down there. Chorves are going to do their best to just mark off as many elves as possible, and we're probably doing something like blitz pickup with the bull centaur. Because if the ball is just on the floor, this Agi 5 guy is going to pick it up. You know, it's a 3+ with a reroll, even if it's in a tackle zone. So the only real way we have of making this safe is either armor breaking this guy or picking up the ball. So we can try both. That is a knockdown. Armor break. Armor break makes this a lot safer for the Chorfs. And we even get the ball. Okay, so it's pretty unlikely that the elves turn you over and score now. But the Chorfs still have a like a 3+ handoff to a Hobgoblin to score. And the only other scoring threat now, I think you need to make another one. Yeah, let's see, the only other scoring threat is the Chorf, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, no, the Chorf isn't even in range. Chorf's slow. So the elves, all they'd have to do is just, you know, blitz this Hobgoblin with a dodge here, and then the Chorfs don't score. But now we have 2 scoring threats, so that's a bit awkward. And we have, these elves are marked off in a way that it's going to make it difficult to hit the scoring threats. Just, we have break tackle though, so this isn't really a huge deal. We can also just blitz, like, so this mark, I probably would have aimed for the 1 die. Like this, all we're gonna do is blitz this guy with tackle, and a push is good enough to make it so that we don't have to worry about the handoff anymore. Bull Centaur has break tackle, so he can cut a corner here if he needs to, but I don't even think he needs to with the sure feet. He's actually just even going to this guy because he had both options available. The follow made that a bit harder, I think. But you can still just go to the other guy because you had both Hobgoblin options. But I think you could have made that a bit harder, as Rama said, maybe. Like, I know it's like a terrible thing, given that you don't really have enough elves to defend. Like, you're kind of all in on the score play, right? If you scored there, you probably win, but you took most of your elves to go after the ball, protect your scoring threat, and get a scoring threat. So it was hard to stop the Chorf scoring threat once that plan didn't work. But like that screen there didn't do anything because the Bull Centaur had both break tackle and 2 options that he could just run to after we blitz the player down here. So maybe using that guy just to assist and then blitzing the scoring threat. But then you still have this other one. But at least he was like, this one was 3 GFIs away and this one was not any GFIs away. So you could have blitzed this, like I think if we blitzed this scoring threat and then just hoped the Chorfs rolled 1s over here, it's probably a little bit better, but I don't know. It's just my initial instinct. You know, blitz the scoring threat is the thing they drill into you in rookie Blood Bowl camp. Problem is there was 2 scoring threats. Always blitz the scorer, Rumblebee, Rumblebee. Kickoff return. Our recently returned from the dead, Therian the Returned, between a kickoff return and a high kick, just sort of end up under the ball. Can the elves 1 turn here? Yes, because of the leap, and there's not enough stand firm. I think we have to use the Bull Centaur to do it, but we can do it. So it means we have to do a lot of blocks that are a bit more awkward than we want. Burning the Pouse on the Chorf there so that we can get the pushes for this elf. The big brain play. Oh, I didn't realize the Chorf was movement up. So yeah, he was a scoring threat. Yeah, that was a really good 1 turn. That was really nice. And then we fail the dodge. I think we deserved that score. We definitely didn't deserve the injury on the failed dodge. Oof. And at least it's just a badly hurt, but that was a really nicely put together 1 turn. You know, your line that you're fighting was 2 stand firm chorfs and a bull centaur, and so we have to do it with the bull centaur, and we have to do it with like a weird leap blitz because the stand firm is in the way elsewhere. It was a really nicely put together one turn. Practice, that's all practice there. Right, having tried it, having tried it a bunch of times under a bunch of different situations, experience, being able to know the like mechanics of how you need to one turn. I can theoretically, like, you know, I know roughly how the concept works, but I mostly play Nurgle and Undead, so I just don't bother. In Imperium, I've one turned with like movement 9 because it's pretty easy to do with movement 9, but the like movement 8, movement 7 sort of one turns are definitely things you need some practice with to make sure that you understand the mechanics. You need to understand the mechanics of like how many pushes you need, where the pushes need to come from, that sort of thing, to make them doable. And I personally just haven't done it and put in that work because I don't care very much, and 2, I don't play teams where it makes a big difference. My one turning tends to be with thrown teammates and with movement 9 players. Because movement 9 is very easy. You know, you leave a hole, you blitz somebody into the hole, you block him, chain push, or run. There you go. Yeah, that was a very nicely put together one turn. Absolutely. Unfortunately, it was unlikely to work, given that we needed to block like the pushes we need on the bull centaur, and all that sort of thing. But all of that working and then it finally failing on just like a 1 in 36 from the dodge feels bad. Unlikely to work. And like that's the point, right? With dice and chains of dice, it's very unlikely to string that whole sequence together. So like if it's a 5% play or whatever that then fails on the last dice, it feels worse than the 5% play that fails on the first dice. It's still the exact same odds. It's still a 5% play from start to finish, or whatever the number you want to come up with is. But like that's because it's a set of dice you all need to work together, so you have to consider it as a grouping or a set. But when the dice rolls happen sequentially and your attempt at doing whatever you're doing fails when you fail the dice roll, when the last dice fails, it feels really bad because you think like, oh man, that was a 1 in 36, but you're also lucky to get up to that point in the first place. You have to consider it as like a whole block of dice, because you need all of them to work for the whole thing to work. And at the start, before you rolled anything, it's a 5% play because you're mashing all of those dice together, right? You know, a 2 plus 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 is not the same as a 2 plus because you have to roll it so many times, right? Like the more dice you squish together, the more the chances go down. That's how math works. But as you pass those 2 pluses, you feel better about it. But since you're doing it all as one unit, it feels really bad when you fail at the end. It's just human psychology, but you shouldn't because it wasn't likely to work. But that's how humans work, right? It's the same thing, you know. How many times have you made a GFI to score versus how many times have you failed a GFI to score? You know, probably 1 in 36, roughly, or 1 in 6, depending on whether you include a reroll, roughly, because it's how dice work. But it feels like you've done it a lot more because you don't remember the times where the GFI worked. You remember the times where it didn't. Humans are bad creatures when it comes to probability. We really, really, really suck. Just try to get into a conversation with somebody about the odds of like flipping a bunch of heads in a row, and you'll understand. Like you can see why there's not a very good understanding, sort of in the general populace. Like you can even think about a sequence of dice in that same format, right? A 1% play or a 5% play where you're doing a one turn, you have to get the catch, you have to get the pass, you have to get the catch, you have to get all the pushes, you have to get the dodges, you have to get the GFIs. If you consider that all as like a unit and one 5% play, you know, you consider that, you know, getting a bunch of heads in a row, right? If you're trying to get 10 heads in a row and you flip 9 heads in a row, well, and then you get 10 tails on the last one, you're like, oh damn, you know, it was a 50% chance to get that. It feels bad, but when you consider it as a unit at the start, like you had to get to that point. On the other hand, that is a 50% roll or a 50% flip at the end of it. You know, there's no gambler's fallacy built into coins. They don't remember what they've previously flipped. But it's about how you define your event. Probability is all about defining the event. What is the failure state? What is the success state? What counts as a set of tries at that event? Right? You don't consider, most people don't consider a one turn a whole bunch of sets of individual 2+s or whatever. They consider it as a unit, like the one turn attempt. So no matter how you frame it, it's all the same dice and the same chances roughly, but if the unit you care about is succeeding the one turn versus succeeding the 1 in 36 dodge, even though they're both part of the same thing, it changes the interpretation of the probability because of the unit that you're dealing with or the event. And now that I've talked about probability for 3 turns, maybe I should talk about the game again. But you know, you're listening to me talk about Blood Bowl, so what? You should have expected this. This is your fault. Ramaset has put himself in a pretty nice 2-turn setup here. We could just go for it with the Bull Centaur. I mean, the Bull Centaur is break tackle. We could, you know, go for a dodge into the square and then just... It's uphill because this is strength 4, though, is the problem. And we can't like dodge around because there's this extra elf here to adding more dodges to this play. This elf is guard, so we could just go for it, but it's a bit unlikely. So I think what we're doing is we're just trying to blitz, trying to get some more damage on some of these elves, especially the Agi elf, and then we're just gonna get in the way. We can also take this hobgoblin and complete the screen. It's not really much of a screen because we can still just go through here. And worst case, yeah, so we just dodge, I was going to say, we just dodge out and mark him. And then we can 1 die through here, or 1 die through here, or 2 die through here even. 2 die through this hobgoblin. But yeah, if the break tackle isn't super likely to work, and if it failed, we just stall forever, very likely, because that's the only threat we have on the ball. So I think doing something like this, especially since we didn't get the knockdown, makes Rama feel like he needs to score more than he would have otherwise. And that's sort of how you play this. Right? If you let the elves stall forever, you lose. But now it's 1-1, and you have 6 turns, or however many turns are left, 5 turns to score, which is not unreasonable for a bash team. Especially if you've already gotten some damage and those KOs don't come back. You've got a couple of turns, enough turns to make a touchdown of your own. It's the standard 2-1 grind. And you don't have to worry about the counter 1 turn if you can stall till turn 16, because this is your opponent's drive. So, and that's kind of the turning point right there, I think. And that's a good strategical choice. Because if you went for the sack and the stopping the score, so you try to win 1-0 or 2-0, if it doesn't work there, it's very likely that your opponent just stalls forever and then 1-1 or potentially even 2-1 if they turn you over later. And the difference between like a 4-turn and a 3-turn is really significant for a team like Chorf's. So making sure the score happened that turn, I think, was pretty integral. Maybe the next turn could have been doable as well, but we were at least in a reasonable position to make it happen because of the Bull Centaur, especially since we didn't get the knockdown on him with the blitz through with the ball carrier. We've got both ball carrying options back here as well. We've got the Bull Centaur and the Dodge Hobgoblin. This Hobgoblin is actually leveled, so he'll probably get block or sure hands if we want to stop carrying on a Bull. The Bull is really useful just because of this player. You know, leaping into a cage, even if we have guard corners, we can get a 1 die on this blockless hobgoblin. That's a double skull. With his strength piece, with who does have block. Whereas we would be uphilling a block player with on this bull centaur. The only issue is the elves, especially this leap one and the agi one, can take advantage of a failed pickup. So trying the like 50% or the 75%, because sure hands, the bull centaur is a little bit scary, but I think it's the right choice, especially if you have to score in 5 turns. You just can't afford to let the elves make it messy for you by jumping in and putting the ball on the floor and then making you have to pick it up again. So it's a little bit risky to go for it immediately with the bull centaur, but I think it's the right choice. You just can't afford the elves doing something silly to make it messy for you, and you only have 4 turns to score to win. And at worst, you're tying now, having the ball here. Even if you failed to pick up for a turn or two, just trying to keep it safe. At worst, you're tying. Zarkan Quicktooth. All the default names on Volcano making me sad, though. And I think they're default names on the elves too, aren't they? Yeah. Some people just have no desire for the stories. And you had both options as well. Both players were back there, so you could have done either one depending on how other things went. And also, yeah, you're right. We used the reroll on the dub skull, so it's actually more likely to work now on the bull centaur because of sure hands. 3+ versus 4+ rerollable. But we had both options, is the point. Now we got our full cage. We've got guard corners, and we got the ball on a bull centaur. So this elf is not useful in terms of making it messy. The only thing we could really do to make it messy here for the elves is blitz a cage corner, right? Given that you know, we have there's a Chorf. Where'd he go? Oh no, we have a full team. Given that there's a Chorf stunned here, that's one of the guard. And these Chorfs could potentially be a little bit locked up with elves if we're willing to mark them. If we like blitzed a cage corner here, we could have made it so that we wouldn't have been able to get a full cage as easily as we would have liked. But I think that's a bit aggressive, because we can also do something like this, where we just prevent the cage's forward movement to the best of our ability. Because the Chorfs don't have the time to slow play this over 8 turns and slowly move up. They've got 3. So they can't do blitz 1 player out of the way, move the cage forward 2 squares, and expect to win with that. That's fair enough, I guess. The only issue with that is that the bull centaur is both break tackle and pseudo movement 9. So, you know, we have to get to about here to be far enough forward to score with the bull centaur. And even if you just like screen, we don't have enough elves to do a full double layer screen. So the bull centaur can cut a corner or dodge or whatever, dodge off a mark with a 2+. So as long as we save our reroll and the bull centaur is about 3 squares further forward, we're pretty likely to be able to score with this. 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, we need 2 more squares. Any more than that, and we're just saving GFIs, which is nice, but we theoretically only need 2 more squares. Alright, so the elves just can't back off in cage here. They have to do something this turn. They have to do something to make it messy. That won't do it. Oof, that's pretty bad for the elves. That's extra bad for the elves. Followed by a stun. I think that's game. Right, there are no elves to stop a cage just moving up over here, so that we can be. We don't even need to fully cage because we can get out of range of most of the relevant elves we can like screen off the elves rather than caging. But if you want to be extra safe, you can just cage it. Right, this dwarf can get here. This dwarf can get here. And we don't actually need a cage corner on this side because no one else can reach it if we just mark him off and screen in the middle of the field. So like if you want to be safe, you just put a dwarf like dwarf here, dwarf somewhere on this line. Yeah, like that. And then we just want to screen off the center so that these elves have a hard time running around. Blitz the closest thing we have to a scoring threat, or to a blitzing threat. And there you go. That'll be it. That failed block and failed dodge turned, like, it was a bit of a desperate position for the elves. Like, I don't think they were going to have an easy time stopping the score in the position that they were in, but that failed block, failed dodge just sealed it completely. Okay. And at worst, we're probably in a tie now. Right, the elves have no scoring threat. Oh, that thrower died twice. Zach got the returned, died, returned, and then... Oh, that's the other one. Never mind. There's just 2 players named The Returned because Ramaset is also terrible and names his players default things. Therian the Returned died earlier and got appoed, and then somebody else, The Returned, just died. And I saw The Returned, so I assumed it was the same guy. But, you know, even if we did have a hit on the ball, it's very unlikely to work because it's going to be uphill. We don't have a scoring threat, and we don't have a way to pick up the ball, right? So that's it. Just the elves don't have anything they can do here. And we succeed loner, roll into a skull in what is a bingo square. Succeed loner, fail anyway. Dwarves can just score here, and they might go for a greed block, but they're just going to take the win, I think, which makes a lot of sense given they are contenders for playoffs, and this is a pretty important match for that. Both coaches contenders for playoffs, so I think it's pretty important just to guarantee that win here. If you're sort of mid-table or bottom table, maybe you consider a greed block just for more SPP, but table positioning I think dictates that we just take the score. So Mongoose wins that, as we saw in the as we will see in the recap in a bit when Shadorra joins us, because, you know, whatever, recording. Yeah, for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, if there are any of you, I know there's my average views are 0 to 1, and I think the 1 is me. Just because most people watch it live, which is totally fair because it's more fun live. I just want to have it somewhere available for anyone to watch later, where we cut out stream advertisements and that sort of thing, because it's going to be irrelevant for people on YouTube later. It's nice to have a record if you want to go back and watch them, or if people miss the live show or whatever. So I do it. For those of you watching on YouTube, this game got edited in front of the rest of the recap, because what we did is we did the recap portion first, because Shadorra had to go, and I did this casting, or go early, and I did this cast alone afterwards, and I'm just editing it in beforehand so that we're not spoiling the result for those of you watching on YouTube before we do the recap. So that's why things sound a little bit weird, or we talk about doing this, or not doing this, and then do it anyway. I just wanted to clarify for those YouTube folks. So for those stream folks, thanks everybody for hanging out. That'll be me for tonight. I hope you enjoyed that recap. We'll be back next week. I've already did the real outro earlier, but later in YouTube land. For those of you watching on YouTube, I will see you in just a second with a joined Shadorra for the recap portion of the show. So first we had Superfed and Holing. This is a pretty big one, right? They're both sort of near the top of the standings, and it's that one weird one where Superfed doesn't actually get inducements for once, because of all the low TV. It's like inducement Wood Elves versus inducement Rats.
Yeah, and I think Wood Elves can do pretty well against Rats. Rats can out-remove them, obviously, but
I mean, they both kind of got removed.
Yeah, looks like it.
32 to 29 blocks.
But one team does not have Mighty Blow outside of the tree, which probably wasn't doing a lot of blitzing.
I'd like to point out there are as many armor breaks in this game as there have been in like most of my games this season, and I'm playing games like, you know, Necro versus Nurgle or like Nurgle versus Jorf or whatever, and this has as many armor breaks as those games. Like that seems like a lot.
Yeah, they did beat the shit out of each other. I mean,
four Fed
got 10 breaks into 3 removals. They didn't really like. Well, it looks like they fouled a bunch, yeah, or dodged or something.
Five removals on the elves, 2 KOs and 3 Kaz, 4 Kaz and a KO for Superfed. One of the teams misclicking a skull, apparently. Fed misclicked a skull. But it resulted in a 3-3, like a bit of a... This is kind of weird. Like, you do see shootouts with Rats and other Agi teams pretty frequently, but you don't normally also see everyone dying during a shootout. Proxy Page, MNG'd, badly hurt on a lineman, and the rest of it is loners. The big deal, though, is the catcher, though. That Agi 5 catcher is MNG'd. So we're going to be missing...
Both players are missing a really key positional next week. So
please stand up leveled, though. We got a tree level. I want to see what that is. Guard. No doubles, sadly.
No doubles.
Grab and guard. Things that kind of make sense there.
Yep. Already has grab for the 1 turns. Used it against me once.
Yep.
Good game. Looks like a fun one. We thought about watching it, but we've watched a lot of Fed games.
Barbecue's Pit Crew and Anagram Catastrophe. So this is where Uber is sad. He was working on getting his team back, but his 1-turner is now strength busted, but he can still 1-turn with strength 1, I guess.
Yeah, you might keep... The problem, of course, is that most of the time Uber has to field him. I guess not really, because he induces a bench most of the time, but yeah, the dead blitzer is real unfortunate. Of course, thankfully, Cheap Torta's also leveled, but...
Cheap Tortas.
It's great.
I love this team so much.
Yeah, so when one Mighty Blow Rat goes down, another rises to take its place.
Hackflem leveled in this game, which is super annoying, but, well, what can you do? Apparently...
by himself for clicking on a skull, so...
Apparently the... Fed it forced the wizard because of the skull misclick, and it was like a super bad misclick. Sadly,
yeah, I mean,
misclicks are often bad, but ones that force you to use other things to recover from it is extra bad.
Of course, I mean, like that matchup is, like if you can give any sort of an edge, you often come out okay. But
yeah, the rats just got removed to death. I mean, they scored twice, but the Chaos Doors were able to score 3 times because there were just no rats in the way, as far as I can tell. Right, there were 6 KOs and 8 Kaz suffered. Like, that's like the entire team. Like, they're basically pitch cleared. Are you? Let me
bring my mic closer to my face. Does this help?
It probably would. Say something.
Say something.
Say something
normal.
I'm giving up on you.
I couldn't remember the rest of that emo-ass song, but I am talking now like a normal human being. Like,
you are still quieter than me according to my mixer, so I can try to... I'll turn you up a little bit and see what happens, and hope people are okay with it. But yeah, so the Chorps won. The 3 were the touchdowns. 1 on a Bull Centaur, 1 on the Agi Hobgoblin, 1 on the other ball-carrying Hobgoblin. So the Chorps take that one in an unfortunate game for the Rats, but frankly, that's how Chorps beat Rats, is kill the important Rats, so the Rats can't do anything. Because even with this few Rats, they still scored twice. And if there was like sort of any real resistance, that, you know, maybe we don't get that 3rd touchdown or even that 2nd touchdown, the Rats still win.
Yeah,
so
double level blockers is nice. More chances for Claw there. And yeah, at least Uber has a replacement blitzer, so it's not totally lost.
Beef Ribs and Korean Short Ribs are the ones that picked up the levels here. So Beef Ribs got Juggernaut, Korean Short Ribs got Dauntless, so no more Claw.
Only normals.
Cheap Tortoise is a blitzer.
I killed another Bull Centaur this week.
Mighty Blow.
You'd be proud of me.
I mean, not really, Stacy. If you're Agi, you can keep up with them a bit in terms of, like, you know, scoring, but as a bash team, you really just have to remove enough rats to make your life easier.
I mean, if rats can do rat things, and if they basically can ever steal your ball and get a touchdown off of it, like through wizards or through sacks, then that's it. Like, you you then have to be in a position where you can prevent them from scoring, and that's very challenging. So the best way to beat them is to not lose a touchdown to rat shenanigans, which means you have to play a clean game, while also removing enough of them that you can potentially either play for a tie or a win by making their like 2 turns or 1 turns riskier.
If the rats are going to be pretty good at turning you over, and if they ever do and convert that into a touchdown and just put you behind, all they have to do now is just stall you out and you lose, or at least tie. And if they have a 1-turner, they can very easily win off of that. So you cannot let them sort of turn you over. And if they have like a wizard or a really good sacker, that's really difficult to do without removing those threats somehow. And
I think is there any other way to beat rats? That mentality of like, I need to kill them gets a lot of bash coaches in trouble. If they don't have a wizard, especially, like, you just need to play really clean. If they have a wizard and like an Agi 5 leaper, like, you got to get a bit luckier. You got to at least play around the wizard in the sense that it's not going to be like a 3+2+ for him to grab your ball and run away. Like, if you're ever in that position with rats, they're going to do it.
It's a bit dangerous, I guess, to say that, but like it's a simplification of, you can't let the rats get tempo / control of the game by them turning you over and scoring, right? You need to make sure that it always stays like, I score on my drive, they score on their drive. If they ever sort of flip that, like even just once, they now have complete control of the game, because all they have to do is really defend, and at worst they tie. And most bash coaches or most bash teams, the only real way they have of like preventing that is playing super clean, or making like removing the resources that let the rats do that, which are things like the 1-turner, the sacker, the wizard.
And then like having them be low enough on numbers that they can't 2-turn reliably. Like,
so it boils down a lot of the time to make sure you remove enough rats, but like that's, if you think of that as the reason, you will probably lose. Like, the reason is not remove the rats, but that's the like most likely path you can take, I guess, as most bash teams.
If in your goal to like remove all the rats, you leave a 2+2+2 die on your ball, for instance, as people do fairly often, like, the rats are just going to win automatically.
So, whereas like elves,
you have to temper your bloodlust.
Elves or other agi teams have other options. Like, if the rats turn you over, you can probably turn them over. You are fast enough to like 2-turn on your own pretty reliably, and you can like catch up and keep up with that. But if you ever make a mistake as a bash team against the rats, you just lose, which is really, really rough. So then we had Stouticus and Chaos Ubalu. This is a bit well, actually, I don't remember what I predicted here. I want to look at that, because like, Stouticus has a good Nurgle team, but it's very
there's
slow.
A Firefox add-on you can get that makes Google Sheets dark.
Yeah, that involves using Firefox, which I don't currently have, though.
All right, fair enough. I think that I did poorly this week. I saw a lot of unexpected results come in.
I did pick Grungy Desserts. So they just had so much removal potential, but it did not show up. It looks like there were no injuries really taken by the Chorfs. They suffered 0 Kaz, 2 KOs, and they just Kaz'd the Nurgle to death.
Yeah, I mean, the Grungy Desserts got 4 breaks, and they even Flan got arm movement busted. So Grungy Desserts is in a bad place right now. I think, is that double movement bust now? No, that was one of the only non-movement busted Nurgle Warriors is now also movement busted. So Stouticus's team is now extremely slow.
Yeah, I mean, we got through the entire Ablative Rotter screen like probably pretty quickly, and then that just puts the Nurgle in such a back foot for a very long time. 2-0 for the Chorfs. Yeah, I mean, Chaos Ubalu saying she just diced him, which I guess makes sense. Heaven beside the one Pestigore leveled, though, which is really nice for Stouticus. Having a rookie Pestigore is annoying. Has block now, which makes sense. Yep. Sunset is the leveled Chorf for Chaos Ubalu, which is a mighty blow. It's a claw. We got another claw. Nice.
It's a claw.
The claw.
Chaos Ubalu's replacement blitzers, or blockers, I should say, being a lot better than her original ones. The Voltrex Vanguard versus Bull Canoe.
Still needs a ball carrier, but it's okay.
This is the top contender for being watched tonight after.
Yeah, mostly just because it's 2 1 and 2 basically on the table before this, or 2 in the top 4 anyway, like 2 really high position coaches. So playoff implications, basically. 2-1 for Volcano. 21 armor breaks to 5. That very well may do it. I mean, 4 Kaz, 4 KOs. Zakith the Returned dead, the guard Blodge lineman, unfortunately. The rest are just badly hurt.
One, but not the end of the world. Dodge or guard pieces die, and he's got another one at least. So Ramaset's not out of the running, certainly.
Marnak Fastlegs, the Bull Centaur, now 1 Kaz away from Legend, and this team having 2 Legend Bull Centaurs. Or no, a Legend Bull Centaur and a Legend Blocker. Two Legends. The
disappointment Bull Centaur who has rolled nothing but normals, but maybe someday.
Could be Legend. Maybe the Legend level. The Danakis Big Arm, which is such a weird name for a Hobgoblin, but it's probably just a default one. Also picks up a level. And we did level the 2 catchers, the 2 stat players for Ramaset, which is certainly interesting. Did he take them yet? Yeah, the strength catcher got movement. So that's movement 9, strength 4 is quite a thing, along with leap and blodge tackle. And the Agi catcher just picks up dodge, which makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Not the best game for Ramaset, but still near the top of the table. So
Ragedorf versus Locus. Well, Insane Dwarf died, which is the thing that we're all sad about, or some people are happy about.
Locus beat the hell out of him. He also lost Wharfdorf, which was a 5 out of 6 blocker, which is really unfortunate. The Death Roller got an Agi bust, which is just funny. Nothing too bad other than that. Dr. Dorf being out next game is a little unfortunate as well, but going back to a fresh Slayer that's not Strength 5 might help this team in terms of bloat a little bit, but
one of the other so the thing that was at least a little bit funny about this to me is that somebody in the Imperium tournament that I just entered, the day after, like the next morning after this happened, somebody played the everybody who doesn't have a legend open up a legend pack to add a legend to your team, like special play card, and the very first legend that popped out of that pack was Insane Dwarf. He was like, he died last night, and he popped out immediately, which was like, oh well, okay. I mean, too soon, Imperium, too soon. But Insane Dwarf died, which is sad. And just look at the armor break values, right? 27 armor breaks to 4. Ragedorf just got smushed into the ground and was on the back foot the entire time. I watched some of it. There was a couple opportunities where we could dodge out to hit the ball with 1 dies and stuff like that, and Walker was doing his absolute best to just throw whatever he could when he could at things, which was nice to see. But he was just in the ground from turn 1 with almost no chance to do very much for so much of the game.
Yeah, it looks like a brutal one.
He just got smushed into the ground and stayed there. It's been this is why so many of his games have been like this season, and so many of mine have been like this, and this is why we're in the sad boy club together.
And then in a game that I'm not surprised lost me points, Bogue Bombers were able to take Lumi down 2-1. Yeah. I saw a bit of this. It was a weird one from what I remember. It looked like Lumi was very much in control, and then some stuff went horribly, horribly awry. I think he even snaked a GFI at the very end to tie, something like that. There were a lot of ways in which this game could have been Lumi's, and then suddenly wasn't.
Thanks, Beltian. That's a Warhammer 40k novel that I realize you probably don't get.
Nope.
There's a character whose catchphrase is "something is awry," that he says when things are actually terrible, something's awry, and my face is getting eaten by a Chaos Warrior.
Yeah, not a great one. Sometimes these things happen. But Lumi did need to win this, I think, to kind of recapture a position near the playoff cutoff. So Bogue Bombers also needed to win this. They were both at 9, so big game for them both.
So Lumi stating that he rolled 8 dice on sort of potato ball carrier plays and couldn't get the preventing the score. So it's very possible that if any one of those was a power or whatever, this could have been 1-1, could have been 2-1, could have been 1-0. A lot of one of those games where there's a lot of possible outcomes just because of a few dice, right? There's a tripwire on a GFI to tie it. Failed to knock down some ball carriers with a couple 2 dice and stuff like that. So, the scoreline varying wildly just on a couple dice.
Yep. And then
MNG
finally,
for the
Skirgle.
Blitzer. And Lutefisk levels, but we haven't taken the level for that kick thrall yet. The like fifth
probably
match.
Just wrestle. I mean, maybe. No, probably just wrestle. Yeah, Skirgle, Wrath of Cullen, 1-1 tie. Who could have guessed?
The like fifth time these two teams have played each other. They've played a lot. But yeah, 1-1. 12 armor breaks, or 11 armor breaks, 2 10 armor breaks. 12 suffered from both sides on 2 include fouls. One team punched the other one and scored, and then the other team punched back and scored, or like the opposite. But
yeah, like Stacy out removed Wrath of Nuffle, but also had 2 expulsions, so they were kind of even on removals.
The Nurgle, the Blodge Guard Nurgle Warrior died from a rock, but got better. The one named Fragile, surprisingly.
I mean, you did name a Nurgle Warrior Fragile, so.
Yeah, so the
Death to Spartacus.
Yeah,
that's a big one.
No, I'm Spartacus. Both touchdowns were on Cullen's drive, apparently. So on Stacy's drive, we weren't able to convert anything.
Everyone
but
just stared at each other.
Cullen was forced to score, and then Stacy counter scored, and we end up 1-1. It's pretty like. Those are fairly common results, either 1-1 on your own drives respectively, or 1-1 on like one drive once the player counts have been reduced a bit is not uncommon for these types of matches. But yeah, Spartacus dead is annoying. Beastman MNG is not the end of the world. He's just a block one. But the dead warrior really sucks.
Then in a long way to, well, I guess we won't talk about that yet. In an effort to disappoint us all, 2 of you have already played your matches, so Chaos Subaru, Superfed, B-Dog, and Ramazet are all just heaps of garbage.
Mm-hmm.
It's Wednesday. It's 5 p.m. on Wednesday. You
tryhards.
Jesus.
Apparently, Spartacus was just left to die because he was sniggled and AV busted. We didn't bother appoing it, so I guess that makes sense. Not for Chaos Subaru. What's Chaos Subaru's excuse? She's Canadian. It is not a holiday week here. I can tell you because I'm so excited for the fact that it's a holiday week, because most of my American coworkers will be on holiday, and therefore I can actually accomplish things.
Also, the fact that Thanksgiving occupies an entire week in America is kind of bizarre to me.
Yeah, it's very strange, but also like not unexpected somehow.
Anywho,
it's also like it doesn't really occupy a whole week specifically, but kind of by default it does, because America does this weird thing where instead of your federal holidays or like the statutory holidays, whatever you want to call them, being on like, the first Monday of a month or the third Friday of a month or whatever, to make them always next to the weekend, they're just specific days. So like Thanksgiving is like a Thursday. So like most people are like, well, why would I just have a Thursday off in the middle of the week? I might as well take Friday off and have a 4-day weekend. And well, if I'm taking Thursday off, that's only 3 more days and I get a bunch of time off. And like, so a ton of people just take time off to make it a week. And it's a consequence of like, because it's randomly in the middle of a week for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gone all weekend, I should say, but I'm just going to a cabin and it's unrelated. Though it is convenient because Cheese is like, I can't play until Monday. And I'm like, well, I'm not here anyway. So this works out.
You say your American holidays, like the two of us are not also Canadian.
I'm going up to northern Quebec to go hang out in the woods.
That's so weird. I mean, meanwhile in Canada, we basically have one long weekend, I think every month, except for maybe one. They're like
in the spring that sucks, but yeah, there's the late winter. I mean,
yeah, but like. I think every month has at least one holiday that sort of matches up with the weekend. There's like maybe 2 that don't. But so we have like one long weekend a month all year, which is really nice because you pretty much always get an extra little break somewhere, which is kind of fun.
All right, let's get back to this. Ordinary Elves versus Anagram Catastrophe. Uber getting nearly 450k against a 1500 TV Wood Elf team because he is now reduced to a rookie elf rat team rather.
Yeah, so he's got no gutter runner for this one, like no one turner.
No one turner. He's got 2 gutter runners and a mighty blow blitzer, but no tackle at all. Holing does not have his super catcher, so he just has to rely on the War Dancer. Weird. But there's a good amount of dodge. Well, the War Dancers are going to be terrors to deal with because they're blood step, and Uber has no answer to that.
And there's the sure hands one actually, which is surprisingly annoying if Uber decides to like try to induce a strip ball, like gutter or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you do that. But
I mean, you don't now.
I think you would just go for the stars. Yeah, I mean, I think I like the Wood Elves for this.
I do too, and I think it's weird. Like both these teams are sort of we're so used to getting inducements, but the Wood Elves just don't get them anymore. And the Rats, like the Wood Elves, go from getting 200, 300k in inducements every match to giving away 500k, which is kind of insane. But the Rats without the good gutter runner are, they're relying so much on inducements, and the inducements are just a little bit less effective against a Wood Elf team than they would be against like a more bash team or something.
You still take the Wizard, and that's great and all, but like and a bribe to hit and to kick anything that hits the floor. But
how do the Rats then take advantage of like the Wizard that they've knocked like the ball from if the Wood Elves are good? Because the Wood Elves also have War Dancers that can just come take it back. Like,
yes, Feanor will be able to take the ball from any gutter runner at any point in the game, as long as it is in range. So,
well, we're not predicting that one because some people are bad and play early. Then we have
Volcanu versus
Shorfoff.
Barbecue. Yeah, Barbecue's pit crew. This is going to be an interesting one for Mongoose if he wants to stay at the top, which he currently is. Oh no, Ramesset has pulled ahead because Ramesset has played one extra game.
Well, so it's triple Claw Mighty Blow versus 1 Claw Mighty Blow. Barbecue's pit crew.
The 1 Claw Mighty Blow is the bigger team.
Yeah, it's because there are hobgoblins basically. There's the rest. There's an Agi movement hobgoblin. There's an Agi blodge hobgoblin. There's a sure hands hobgoblin. There's 6 hobgoblins in general versus Volcano's 4 or 5.
Yeah, both sides have a bench.
It's
the guard differential is definitely favoring
5
Gamer.
To Barbecue.
5 to
3, 4, 5. Well, actually 5. There's a guard hobgoblin and a guard bull centaur.
Oh, that's true. I think Mongoose can pull this out, especially if he gets a wizard, which he does. So.
I think that's what I'm going to go for too. Little bit because of the extra claw, but a little bit because just sort of top of the table bias, right? I'm going to continue supporting the person who's winning. But there's a lot of, this is going to be quite a game, just slamming into each other. The big advantage that Barbecue has is just the hobgoblins being useful. So if we end up in this big like chore 4 where they're all sort of stuck, we have these like hobgoblins that can actually do things versus the rookie hobgoblins, which might make a bit of a difference. But that depends on if we sort of end up in that guard locked situation, which Barbecue Gamer might be able to do with his lots of guard, but you got to be careful because there's a lot of claw coming your way if you do that.
And then in a very unfortunate ordering, Stodicus has to play Locus. While Locus is at full strength and Stodicus is down a Nurgle warrior and one of his best ones at that.
Yeah.
So the Nurgle still have 3 warriors and a rookie beast, 2 Claw Mighty Blow, no Claw Mighty Blow Blitzer though. They have to just blitz with Fel on Black Vignettes, which is only movement 4. And less of a problem in this matchup. The teams are very likely to be smushed together. The bench favors
Locus.
Locus has
15 players.
Yeah, Stodicus has one bench, and Locus has not 15, but 14.
You're missing a number. Missing 5, yeah. So 14 players. A lot of removal potential. The Nurgle are so slow that they're going to be like
this is almost certainly a tie.
Yep, but we can't predict ties. So I'm going to go with if anyone wins, I think the All-Stars of Chaos win, just because Nurgle inducements are terrible, and we're going to have a lot of inducements. You'd much rather have skills and players that are valuable. So things like Pitbull Baby Breath, just having the ball and leaving is going to be hard for the Nurgle to deal with. There's going to be a bit more removal potential from the Chaos. The Chaos also have a bench to eat up some of the removal potential of the Nurgle. Regen is a thing, but if you win on the drive, you win on the drive, right?
Yep.
And if there was like somebody really unfair for Stouticus, like if he had like a like a boxers from your mom or something like ball carrier, then maybe. But your options are going to be pretty limited. B-Dog and Ramaset, we can't predict because it's already happened because you are also terrible. Cullen and Ragedorf in another unfortunate ordering. Chorfs get to go up against, or the Dwarves get to go up against another Chaos with Claw Mighty Blow Kill Stack, which is fun. Your legend level was you took kick, but that was a different legend. You mean you leveled a player this time? Yeah, Carter Cruz got legend. So, well, I just wanted to see. We won't talk about that now.
I'm guessing it's kick.
No, that was the other one. He got another. There's another legend.
Did you take it? Did you see what he took?
No, I didn't look. We'll talk about it next week.
Fine.
You can go look after if you want, but I'm not spoiling it on the stream.
Wrath of Nuffle versus Ragedorf. Cullen versus
Unseen Walker in his second kill stack chaos in a row, and then he gets both Nurgle teams right after.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate dwarves in this matchup, but that's exactly what I said last time, and we saw how that went.
The way you say that makes me think the answer is me. Like, I will be the one who likes it because it's something silly or off meta or something like that.
I mean, I like the way that Fed levels rats. I mean, I basically looked at...
I also think that when Fed says off meta, he's like, it's not the most common pick in the world, but it's something that makes perfect sense. Like, he would probably call that kick off meta, even though it's like the only reasonable skill for that player to have. So, I don't know. I don't know if I believe him when he says that.
I still think it's going to be hard for the dwarves. You're down a guard, you're down your strength 5, which I know I just said was bloat, but at the end of the day, it was still, a good amount of pitch presence in these matches. No piling
12.
on, that's true.
3 Claw Mighty Blow on Chaos Warriors, though, and if we just start eating through the dwarf blockers cannot really get away from the Chaos Warriors, right? If they're on them, they're just on them. We're down a guard, so it's going to be hard to stay there.
Do you induce a guard rookie?
Guard is probably the best choice just to try to prevent more blocks. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the only way you make this bad for the Chaos is like if the Claw can't get hits because you've got a bunch of guards stand firm, stopping them from doing things. There you go. Like, I mean, I kind of did that a little bit with my clan match against Chaos Dwarves this week.
Is your idea there that the leader gives you a free not a free reroll, but a reroll to be used for the one turn, so you no longer have to save a reroll for the one turn? I know I skipped that.
Okay, well, fine. I guess we're doing it now. He took leader, I guess. Way to ruin everything.
I didn't ruin anything.
Yes, you did. You just said it. This is all your fault.
For playing early. Yeah, no, he played out of order, so.
I hate you. That is fine. It depends on as long as you can keep the one turner off the pitch always, because how Blood Bowl 2 does leader rerolls is it uses the leader reroll first. Right. So if the one turner is on the field and you just use a reroll at all, the leader reroll is gone and you don't get it for that half anymore, even if he goes off and comes back on for the one turner or whatever. So if you can keep him off the field for everything but the one turn and you use those other rerolls, and then you do the one turn, you now have a reroll for it if you didn't have rerolls before. Yeah. Is how that could work. Which is interesting. I think it's a cool idea. And if you didn't have any other useful skills, we're talking about it now, so I'm going to go look. Would any of the doubles have helped there? No, right? Because you already had 2 heads. Because you'll often see stuff like high or pro elf or high elf catchers that end up being one turners, getting something like Juggernaut on doubles to like turn a both down into a push so that they can push the backline screen out of the way. But with 2 heads and Agi 4, the only thing you're really worried about is tackle. I mean, you could make an argument.
No, if they have a full bench, they can make it a 3+ still, but.
And you're also strength 2, right? So the blitz doesn't really make it better. So Juggernaut is kind of off the table.
Well, I mean, a red die with Juggernaut isn't bad because then your only fail is a skull, but it's still.
I think the only other choices that are even like considerable there, if you got like doubles, there's Juggernaut. You could maybe, like, some people might consider like Leap if you really wanted to, but I don't like that.
With 2 heads, it doesn't make sense because the worst case scenario is that it's a 3+ dodge, and the Leap is a 3+ because he's not agi up. So
the only thing is that, like, if they have enough players, you can like prevent an extra dodge sometimes, depending on how the players are set up. But it's or catch, as Fed said, but that's not.
Yeah, it's a weird pick. I don't know if I like it, but I also don't think there was. Fine. I think Juggernaut might have been the more typical pick there, but whatever.
I mean, the standard one I think is catch, but that's a normals. Right. So I pick Wrath of Nuffle. Back to this. Ragedorf has had a bad season. They'll probably continue to have a bad season. The dwarves are going to get crushed by some of the like claw, and then we just saw what happens to this dwarf team against Chaos, and now they're missing their strength pieces that sort of were the thing that they could help with.
Yeah. Okay, and then we have Lumi. Hard. Lumi has literally never lost to Nurgle, I don't think. No, he lost once, but he's 6-1-1. So don't burn me for like the 3rd week in a row. All right.
That's probably fair. If you look at his.
But the Nurgle do get a wizard
against vampires, which is the weirdest thing I have ever seen.
I mean, they'll probably take a bribe and maybe 2 bribes even. Yeah, they do get like 200k. Yeah,
Skirgle,
2 bribes.
Against Vamps is 1-1-0.
Hits the ground. Oh, excuse me.
I mean, I would take. I mean, the wizard probably isn't super useful. Well, you have the alphabet row, who's at least Agi 4, who can try to take advantage of weird scatters. So it might not be the worst idea, given that like Blodge sidestep ball carrying with strength 4 is a thing.
Yeah, I just think that the way Lumi plays on offense is that he 2 turns, and you're not going to bolt. Like, what if your best bet is to bolt a vampire in the backfield that always has a thrall around? Like, at worst, you're just turning like a 2+ handoff into a 3+ handoff and a 3+ pickup. Like, I don't think that's really a lot of value. Or you bolt the like scoring threat vampire, but like if that's then you just do something else, right? There are almost always more than one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So like the ball is never in a position. I think it's very rarely in a position, I should say, where the Nurgle could get to it even if they bolt it.
Yeah.
So I think the bribes are better. Vampires are all about resource attrition. If you just start taking away their thralls earlier, or KO or remove their vampires, then they are vulnerable for
that. Try to injure stuff. Foul literally anything that hits the ground that you can get a reasonable foul on until you run out of bribes.
Try and fail to play around Hypnogaze. That's it.
Pretty much. I think it's going to be hard for Nurgle. I mean, vampires are weird. They're so bad until they're good, and then suddenly when they have enough skills to be reliable at doing things, they're just like they're really annoying.
Yeah, my beer hall or my beer league vampire team, now that both vampires have Blodge, is significantly better. Also, because of the changes in beer league rules, anytime I get a lot of inducements, I just induce a bunch of dodge vampires and then have a great time.
Like they use all their resources like really quickly when they have no reliability skills. Like it's not reliable to do stuff with vampires. And then suddenly you get a bunch of movement and strength and Blodge sidestep pro vampires, and then you just never have to use reroll for things. And you have like strength 5 Agi 4, strength 4 Agi 4 players just charging around the field doing stuff.
Okay, let's look at the leaderboard because we forgot to do that. Ramaset is in first, but has played his game this week, so that's a little artificial.
Same with
Mongoose can overtake him if he wins, getting up to 21 points. Fed is also played and is at 16 points, so getting close to locking. Ben has the div predictor, but no one is locked yet, and no one is also removed, I think he said.
Not yet. Not according to the div predictor anyway. With 4 playoff
technically
spots,
Unseen Walker could make playoffs.
Technically, it's I'm not figuring out how, but if he won like all the rest, it's probably because of who he's matched up against. Like he has the top of the table people.
Wait,
so
why does it say there's CC? Oh, it's got you have it set up wrong. It's 4-0, not 4-1.
Yeah, because you requested me to run your thing, and then I had a challenger.
Yeah, because I'm not technically mathematically locked yet, but I'm close. I might be the first person to lock. If I beat Cheese, I think I lock, and I because I'm in a div with a lot of tickets, but also I'm the only one in a div with a lot of tickets that's really high on points. I might
So
get
the most likely, if you want to, if like nobody's actually a lock yet, but the most likely right now are Volcano, Voltrex Vanguard, and Dreams of Golden Streams. And then the fourth spot, we like Ordinary Elves, Bogue Bombers, Wrath of Nuffle are all pretty much in there with a shot for that last spot. But it's pretty likely that those top three end up in the playoffs as of now. So let's look at 2A. These people are good and haven't played their games yet.
1% hype.
Yeah, it's I don't even think it's 1%. Oh, it is. It's 1.24%. Somehow you have a 0.1% chance of finishing second, and I have no idea how that works. But like that's in the predictor, so I'll take it. I mean, you're most likely finishing spots.
I mean,
right
I think
now
it's
12,
that
13,
he wins every single game, and then a bunch of low table people like win and lose, but all like in a way that 1, 2, 3, and 4 always just lose for the remainder of their games. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think it's just a consequence of there being like 4 playoff spots. Like when there are a lot of playoff spots. When there are very few playoff spots, I should say, it's really hard to get them. Like that's how math works. But even it's hard to recover because if you even get a little bit of a lead, since there's only that one spot, it's hard for enough people to overtake you. But since there's enough, it can shuffle around a lot.
Anyway, Div 2A this week.
Onania Eisenmike, Commanders in Grief, Self-Hating Dwarves. Oh wow, the Dwarves and Orcs 1-1 tied. Surprise.
Hey, I won my Orc Dwarf matchup this week.
You also had a ludicrously large Orc team for Clan compared to that Dwarf team.
And I still do. And then I punched Finns.
Well, George HW Push badly hurt. Abra Slam Lincoln also badly hurt. And Jimmy Farter badly hurt. Warren G Hard One leveled.
Long grinding matches 3 died in a long grinding match, I assume. So Eisenmike down a guard stand firm mighty blow blocker.
Not much versatility leveled though, and I really hope he got doubles so that he can be versatile. Yeah, he got movement.
A movement 7 blitzer. Or no, are dwarf blitzers moving 5? So they're moving 6 now.
Not much versatility is now slightly more versatile with this plus movement, which is so funny.
And same plan every match, got a movement bust and is therefore dead. Yeah. So, man.
Yeah, the dwarves not having its boomer induced for this one. But
because dwarves are bad.
1-1. Dwarves are surprising. Like people complain about dwarves, but I think dwarves are just like they're really not that good at either high level or high TV. Frankly, like I don't want to get into it too much, but apparently,
I mean, when things are going right, dwarves absolutely steamroll you because they're very good at doing that thing. But as soon as anything goes wrong, they're fucked.
Yeah, I mean, it's the no backup, never any plan B is the thing. The dwarves they're
very good at doing plan A, but if plan A does not work, or if you're playing a team that's better at plan A than you are, you lose.
And people who are very new to the game probably have a really hard time dealing with them because they're like, man, so much armor, so much block, how do I get through it all? And then people who are not new to the game are just like, well, you just leave because the dwarves are movement 4. So you just go away and then the dwarves can't do anything.
I think Nurgle have more of a plan B than dwarves do. They've got way more ag 3 players.
Mm-hmm. A little bit more movement.
I
mean, neither of them have a good plan B, but at least the Nurgle have a chance to recover if they're lucky and something has gone wrong. Like dwarves, you need miracles to recover if something has gone wrong.
Nurgle have mutations. Nurgle have players that can very efficiently tie up to other teams. Yeah,
correct. Mutations are the best part. Damn Yankees and fellows Coatadol, Trunkhead and Not for Science.
I actually called this for Trunk, and
so did I.
Not for Science pulled it out. Agi bust on John Rambo. So Fell with Quaddadol created a new Lord Nathaniel Mar. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm into that.
Yep. So there's a new mighty blow piling on Agi busted elf in the div. We leveled up Erolosi Mar.
Do you see how many blocks there are? There are 91 blocks in this elf off.
91 blocks. That's a Not for Science game for you.
But also, what? Oh no! So Damn Yankees got a ton of armor breaks, but it resulted in very little damage. While Fell with Quaddadol got 5 breaks into 4 removals, and then on top of that, which I assume from fouling. Trunk had sustained 2 more KOs and 1 more Kaz. I think Not for Science just magically beat the hell out of Trunkhead.
Yeah, I hate to call things by just looking at dice logs because they never tell the whole story, but
boy howdy does this look like a dicing.
it does a little bit. Yeah, I really hate to call things like that without seeing the context. Like the context of the dice matter a lot more than the actual dice. Right, you could roll half ones, but if the other half is all 4s and 5s on 3+ rolls, then it doesn't really matter. You still like on 2 dice or whatever, if you know what I mean, right? Like it doesn't matter if what the other dice is. So but yeah, it certainly does look like that. Not for Science removing the Dark Elves when it probably should have been the other way around. Captain America does pick up a level though, on a Blotchguard Blitzer, which is nice. No level taken yet. And the catcher leveled for Not for Science, which is just block. Oh wait, no, I looked at the wrong catcher there. It is, let me check. Dodge.
And then we have Cold Cuts, A-Grain versus Minimo. This was top of the table versus bottom, so it was going to be a tough matchup for Minimo, and that is reflected in the result.
Injury
that said,
count.
He did
Good God.
beat the hell out of A-Grain. Armor Bust on a Bull is a huge deal. Niggle on a blocker, huge deal. Yeah. Some permanent damage. He did sustain 2 MNGs on Warriors, though, so next game's going to be hard for Minimo, but they both...
Yeah.
I mean... Hornstars caused 6 Kaz, Cold Cuts caused 4. So a very killy game, but the Chorfs were able to come out on top.
Yeah, they both to basic. I would imagine this is basically 2-1 grind, and like there's just enough injuries on both sides. Like the standard sort of bash like 1-1 tie is very often because it's really hard. Either they can just stall till turn 8. Or if they score early, it's still really hard for a bash team to like 2-turn to 3-turn if there's any resistance at all. Yeah. And so you'll often see 1-1 ties between bash teams because they can offer enough resistance to make a 2 or 3-turn hard. Or you controlled your own drive so well that you could just stall till turn 8. But if 2-1 grind potentially here, on your defensive drive, you forced Minimo to score early just because of the position you were in, and then you managed to convert it or something like that. Tends to happen.
And then this is a pretty big one. Debt Monkey tied Yayo.
Yeah.
You're not surprised in an Orc versus Nurgle matchup, but Debt Monkey really needed a win there to kind of break out of the...
I'm a little bit surprised. I mean, the Nurgle have... well, never mind. The Nurgle have 4 guard. I was going to say, Nurgle don't have very much guard versus the Orcs. The Nurgle got pretty good
removals on the limited blocks they got. It looks like they broke armor. Like, they got 37 blocks into 14 breaks. That's pretty solid.
It's not unsurprising. Like the Nurgle are going to get way fewer blocks, but if they result in removals, that can kind of counteract that a bit.
This is either good armor dice or good blocking dice because basically, not all of these blocks were knockdowns, presumably, and he got about 50%. Well, like a little bit less than 50% block break. So
dead lineman, but he's the only player on the team without skills, so I guess that's probably okay.
Yeah, it looks like they both sustained some injuries. Oof, a bunch of MNGs for Yayo. It's going to be a tough match next week, down a support Pestigor and a killer Nurgle Warrior.
Early onset Rasslin.
That's awesome. It's mostly
picked up Stand Firm, so we got 3 block guard Stand Firm Blackhawks now.
Stand Firm spam is obnoxious.
It really is. Well, with 3 block guard Stand Firm,
I mean, this is
cannot get 1 turns against
team,
now.
Except it has a troll, and its thrower sucks less ass.
Once again, Nurgle Warrior and the Pestigor being out are going to make the next game a bit of a challenge. BME and Sarkodiak. I think I predicted BME for this one, if I recall correctly. I was right.
I was wrong.
Sean Man leveled up. That's
Sean Man.
I don't know where, like all the other, there's Not for Science. There's like only a couple people, players named after coaches here. I wonder where that came from.
Ponosaurus is a reference to Spica, but I'm not sure.
There's Yayo as well. So I wonder where these like the names are coming from. I mean, I imagine it's like a head collector's joke somehow, like he's taking like naming players after people he's beaten or played or something like that. But I don't know where he would have played Sean Man. Anyway, I want to see what Sean Man leveled to. Dirty Player. They're 38, 25 blocks, 9 and 7 armor breaks. Not, but those 7 armor breaks became, those 9 armor breaks became what, 5 Kaz? A little bit crazy.
Yeah, I mean, good to get a 2-0 out of this, given how many of the big players were removed. Like, it was down to 1 or Chaos Warrior by the end of this. Meanwhile, not a lot of damage for Sarkodiak. I think there was some weirdness. I saw some messages about some like some bad dice on Sarkodiak's part. For
something would have regen here too, because there were 2 Kaz suffered by Abysmal Cusp. We have two Kaz from the Pestigor MVP to the Strength Nurgle Warrior, which is nice. He's a touchdown away from leveling.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, those easy Nurgle Warrior touchdowns.
Then we have Here We Fall and Sterling Hornets. I definitely thought Here We Fall would win, but Clown Thulu pulled this one out by removing all of Fall's team. You were like, one team has Mighty Blow Tackle. And I was like, yeah, well, technically both teams do. And you were like, yeah, I guess. And then only one. Well, actually, no, it looks like there were 2 Kaz for Hill 48 the second. Oh, one of them got appled, I guess.
40 blocks to 14. Like,
yeah, I mean, it looked like Fall got just removed very, very quickly.
And then just couldn't do anything because he had no players left. Right, there you go. Like, when you only make 14 blocks in a game, that's less than 1 a turn. And there's several LOS
I'm
setups
thinking
there.
There might have been some running away at some point and being like, all right, fine.
There has to be at some point.
I see which way the wind is blowing here.
Well, when you have less than 1 block a turn and you have to get more than that on LOSs generally, like it's...
Yep. Almost all the stat freaks are out next week. In particular, Dross is out, which is the big one, so Fall's going to be pretty lean.
So Clown Thulu just sort of controlled that whole game. You know, the whole controlled them right into the Kaz box, as the meme is. But like, also that lets you control the game when they don't have players. So
it's true. It's very easy to pitch control. Tech 19 versus Logos Money. I thought Tech 19 would continue to win, and he did.
Seymour Butts is strength busted.
He is. Well, he also is the MVP, which is unfortunate. But other than that, you're not really that sad about it. Didn't manage to level up Ardwolf. Fenrir was too busy carrying, inching his way to legend.
Getting there.
20 SPP. Might get it by the end of the season. Probably. Fragile and Limp, on the other hand, didn't take any serious damage. Took 3 Kaz.
MNG and a block lineman is not the end of the world.
Leveled a Witch and took...
movement.
That's nice. Yeah. Neat. Nice to have on Dark Elves, especially on the Witches.
Yeah, really. The frenzy sidestep, like you can big surf threat from far away.
Just like you're never safe, really.
Yeah, jump up in what, movement 8 now? That's kind of nuts. Yeah. So much mobility.
So let's look at the leaderboard. A-Grain at the top with 18, 5-3-0, one of the other undefeated coaches still. 3 people at 17. Debt Monkey barely trailing behind the other 2. I don't know who wins in the Tech 19 versus Debt Monkey tiebreaker, but it's not relevant yet, obviously. Not for Science having a great season with no team, so...
let me pull up the predictor. Nobody locked yet as well. A-Grain most likely to go to playoffs, but he's still catchable, and that's just because there's so many ties, right? He's at 18 points versus the 17 of other coaches, so he could fall down to challengers not unreasonably. But he's incredibly likely to make postseason. Like, the absolute worst he could do is 8th, and that's very, very unlikely. Fellas Quotadol, Monster Bash, Practice Makes Permanent are the all sort of about 60% together, and they all have 17 points, so that's very understandable that order can swap around pretty easily. This sort of outside contender, Yield Guard and Damn Yankees, to a little bit less of an extent, can still have a reasonable shot at this. There's an outside, like really, really outside for Fragile and Limp and Logos Money to catch up. Okay, so then predictions. Trunkhead and Onania, 1780 Dark Elves, but it's actually 1700 if he spends that money because he's got 230. Yeah. So 310k.
He's down John Rambo, which is Palm Blitzer, but that's not that useful against orcs anyway. You're not really gonna remove them, so Not a great loss there. He's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11. He's got 11. He could buy an extra lino with that money. I might consider it just to have a bench. You've got the extra money. There's no sense burning that much money.
No.
You'd still have, so that would keep you at 1770. So you'd still get, a wizard and an extra Apo or a wizard double bribe, something like that. Trunkhead is not out of playoff contention, but at this point, given the gap between 1 through 4, he needs to start chaining wins. So he either needs to go hard on the win this week or probably accept that he's not making postseason.
Yeah. So do you? There's what 2 tackle for the 3 tackle for the orcs, but 2 of them are on linemen, so that's movement 5, which is not particularly useful. And that's fairly relevant because there's a lot of dodge and a lot of blodge on this team in particular.
Yeah.
G5,
there's
which
only one mighty blow tackle, and there's no piling on this team, so I don't hate.
I don't hate the Dark Elves at all.
I don't hate the Dark Elves, no.
I think the Dark Elves are going to have a hard time potentially on defense if the Orcs don't make a mistake. Right? They have like a real solid guard stand firm, either screen or cage.
That forces mistakes. Wait, fuck me, why?
I don't know.
That's fine, but
if you really want to, I guess.
I haven't played my game early. No one can yell at me.
I think the Dark Elves might, without the wizard, are gonna if they get a wizard, then they have the wizard. Without a wizard, they'd probably have a hard time stopping the orcs on defense. Just they're not going to get the ball from them.
Yeah, I think it's gonna come down to whether or not Trunk can turn the wizard into a score.
Yeah, and I think he can.
Me too.
Self-hating dwarves and cold cuts. So 1770 dwarves and 1590
the battered chorfs versus the battered dwarfs.
They're missing a bull centaur. They're missing a claw blocker. They're missing a hobgoblin.
Still have 3 claw mighty blow and 1 claw palm.
Yeah, and the dwarves they're not missing anything. I don't think.
They lost something. They lost a blocker.
Yeah, or a troll slayer maybe because he has a rookie one now.
Well, he replaced a troll slayer because it got movement busted, and a blocker, a mighty blow. Stand firm guard blocker is dead.
Yeah.
So 6 guard to 1, 2. The Shorts could be in trouble here, but they do have a bull centaur to kind of bail them out.
Yes.
You want to know why Chorfs do so well, other than the fact that they have better kill than the dwarves, is that they also have better plan Bs in the bull centaur.
Yeah, they have movement 9 safeties.
Yes.
And potential scoring threats if you're
I believe in Agrain's ability to pull this out, even though it's going to be a bit of an uphill battle.
Do you think so?
I'm going based on records and on... Yeah, mostly just records and the fact that even with all this stuff, I don't think the dwarves are that suited for murdering dwarves.
I think it's going to be a tie, but I'm not allowed to do that.
Yeah, sure. It's
a
game involving dwarves.
Agrain has no wins against dwarves, and Eisenmike has no wins against dwarves. Nice. I think okay. So yeah, I think I agree with you. It's gonna I think it's gonna be a tie, frankly. But if anybody wins, I think it's the Chaos Dwarves, just because the Claw will do a thing, and then
the next
win.
Match is really funny because it's 2 baby Chaos teams. It's a 1470 Chaos team versus a 1490.
You mean not for Science and Debt Monkey?
Oh, I skipped. Oh, I moved a tab around.
You're like two baby Chaos teams. I'm like, they're High Elves and Orcs. I don't know. I guess you could call the Not for Science's team a baby Chaos team with the way he plays it, but I don't know what you're getting at here.
Okay. I think that Debt Monkey can win this. If he plays a clean game, he should beat the elves. The elves are going to have a wizard, sure, but if you play safe enough, I think even the wizard is unlikely to result in the elves running away with things, and you're going to literally beat the hell out of them. This team has so much armor 7 guard. And so much mighty blow, so much tackle.
Yeah, 7 guard. The elves are never going to get a block. 5 stand firm. They're never going to be able to do anything useful.
Yeah, so you're going to foul everything that hits the floor.
Yeah, a
I
good
think
a
that
good
monkey
ball
can do it.
carrier, so you're not unlikely to fail a pickup and let the elves like take advantage of that. 4 tackle, all of it attached to Mighty Blow piling on, movement frenzy. The elves having a bunch of like movement 7 and like snap bus and stuff, and they're missing like their kind of super players. Like they do have that one line elf who's agi 5, but he's also armor 7. So like it's, you know, you can never say no to elves, but I think most of the time the orcs win this.
Yeah, and then Minimo versus
It's like a Div
BME.
4 chaos match between two
I know,
1400
it's really
chaos
funny.
teams.
I think Minimo has the edge here, but BME's
they're
got the
both
record.
missing 2 warriors. Wow, it's 2 on 2.
But BME's missing his blitzer, and Minimo has his.
That's a big deal. BME has his ball carrier, and so does Minimo. Yeah, Buster Good is
I think
a big deal
Minimo
here.
has the better team here, but I'm gonna go with BME for record's sake.
Well, then I'll go opposite, so we have something contentious. I got to catch up somehow. And yeah, better team. So I like just based on the players that are still around for this match. You know, if the blitzer goes out early, well then there you go. But like that's the advantage that we have here is we've got that piling on killer versus not having one.
Yep. And then Ye Old Guard versus Here We Fall.
Tiny Nurgle and Tiny Elves.
Yeah, there's a lot of tiny matches this week because everyone got MNG'd.
Yeah.
Down a Nurgle Warrior and a Pestigore. Oh, not the worst match to be down those players.
Down the movement 9 catcher and down the agi 5 leap elf.
Oh god, he's got one non-rookie Nurgle Warrior. Poor Yayo. For this match.
Yeah.
Does still have a Claw Mighty Blow, tackle, non-permed Pestigore.
Coco and Cosmic are both pretty useful, both on defense and offense here. Yeah. The tackle, like the tackle 2 heads or the 2 heads guard, like in combination with the other Pestigore, like it's going to be pretty easy to get 2 dies on elves if they're only like slightly screened off. Like a single screen is not going to protect you against these Nurgle. Because we have the 2 heads tackle dodge through, or we could potentially use that to get a 2 die on things with the claw frenzy piece.
I think even with the wizard, I think it's gonna be hard for Fall to turn this into too much of an advantage with the players he has. He's got the one nice blitzer, but
if he had the agi 5 player, I think I would be saying Fall all day every day. But without him, I like this is a weird one where I actually like the Nurgle's chances. Normally I'm not a big fan, but you have the right Pestigores to do the right
I am often
jobs.
Not a fan of assuming that Nurgle will win games.
Yeah, but the Nurgle have good Pestigores, right? Like they have 3 tackle. That's more than my team has ever had.
And then we have Sir Kodiak versus Tech 19. So Tech 19 continuing to win do very well in the division, I should say. Versus Sir Kodiak, who's a bit more middle of the table. Nurgle can be hard for Necro, but this Necro have like 2 Agi Wolves, which is nice. They've got an Agi White, so they can play a bit more of the fast and loose game.
Wizard 2 Agi Wolves.
And they've got they've got 6 guard. It's such a crazy amount of guard for a Necro.
They outguard and outspeed the Nurgle.
It's going to be hard for them to use it. Like, Nurgle just outstrength you so much that guard can only... No, I mean, I have a 5 guard rat team. Let me tell you, it doesn't matter if you outguard the Nurgle team, like, 2-1, you'll still get outbashed by the Nurgle team.
Well, they have strength 4. But the thing with that, though, is, like, we've got a rookie Nurgle warrior, right? So he's going to get marked by a zombie, and he's irrelevant. Like none of the Nurgle warriors have, only one of them has like a mighty blow, for example, so we can nullify most of the Nurgle warriors just with like a well-placed zombie or 2 and be like, there you go, like block them every turn if you want. If they die, I don't care, they're zombies. Now you have no strength anymore, and I'm just gonna run around you with wolves. So like this match really comes down to the Pestigores being useful, and like the Nurgle warriors are pretty much irrelevant, I think.
Yeah, it also looks like Tech could probably get a wizard and Cheney. Cheney's what, 250k? Something like that? If he's 20, he can exactly get a wizard and Cheney, which is quite nice.
exploding social rupture is the really nice piece here. He can actually keep up with the wolves a bit. It's a natural wrestle tackle 2-die, and we can, because of horns and wrestle tackle, can dodge through things.
But with 2 agi wolves, it's pretty easy to 2-turn in a way that, like, if you just screen off the wolf, there's not a lot. Like, Nurgle have trouble getting in front of forward screens, so
you don't have to get in front of the screen too often. Like, the problem is the agi 4, I guess, that they're both agi 4. Because normally in that situation as Nurgle, you'd be like, okay, you're in a 2-turn. Well, here's 3 disturbing presence. Like,
that's true. You can't do that.
Because you do put 2 Nurgle
you
warriors
could just
on
get
each
the
side
ball
and
to
then
him on
like
that
sort
turn,
of
I guess. But
beast in the middle, and you can
it does change the 2-turning strategy a little bit.
You can generally get 2 to 3 disturbing presence on any scoring threat pretty easily. Agi 4 makes that a bit less good because like they can still pull it off if they have to, but it's not as easy.
Sure, you probably just get it to them on the turn, like the first turn instead of the second turn.
Yeah, you just you hand off
and
to
with
him
2
and then
movement
you run
8
down.
agi 4 pieces, getting the ball that far in one turn is reasonable most of the time. So.
Yeah, like not only because you have the movement 8 to get it to him, but also because he's moving 8, so scoring range is farther out, right? So you don't have to run very far forward to be in scoring range with the second piece, and then you can screen him off with flesh golems and wights and zombies and stuff because they can catch up with not having to go very far over the LOS.
Yep. So I think I like the Necro there. And then,
I do too, but yeah.
Then we have Sterling Hornets versus Fragile and Limp. So an elf off.
Oops.
Both teams have Mighty Blow Tackle. One team actually has Mighty Blow Tackle piling on, which is always nice.
In an elf matchup, yeah.
Yeah,
Huge.
The Dark Elves here have a lot of tools, which is nice. Pretty even. The Sterling Hornets are going to get a Babe, basically, but that's it.
There's a pretty serious catcher, but he's also niggled in armor 6 against Mighty Blow piling
I feel
on.
like the Dark Elves are just going to beat the hell out of this High Elf team.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I think the
armor 6 niggle against Mighty Blow Tackle. Yikes.
Mighty Blow Tackle piling on.
Yeah.
He is strength 4. But yeah, I don't think like the pro elves are a weird team, and they have some fun tools. Most of their like sort of game plan can often rely around like the blitzers and the catchers. We have one catcher who's very likely to be removed, and one of the blitzers is a rookie, and the other one is niggled. I have a strong feeling that the Dark Elves are going to beat up the Pro Elves, but you never know. It's hard to say with Elves sometimes because he does have good scoring options with the catchers and the thrower, right? Nerves of Steel and all that nonsense.
It's fair. All right, that brings us to the end of our predictions.
Yes, so
I'm gonna go start setting up a board game that takes 4 hours to play.
Which like Eldritch Horror or Arkham Horror?
Eldritch.
And when you say Eldritch, like, so it's the long form board game, not like the card one or
the long form board game. I'm going to be playing it with 3 people locally and 1 person in Japan.
Okay, cool. I'd like to. I haven't played Arkham or Eldritch in a while. I'd like to. That'd be fun.
Eldritch Horror is great. I want to get more expansions for it. My friend has like all of them, but I obviously haven't been over there as much. I only have 1 expansion. I should really get some more for Christmas or something like that.
I have the one that's considered the best, or like the one that adds the most gameplay for Arkham Horror, but Arkham Horror is kind of the old version of Eldritch. It's a little less streamlined.
Yeah, it's the quality of life changes in Eldritch Horror make it a lot better game. A much more of a better like cleaner gameplay experience for me. So I really like
if you haven't played the Arkham Horror like living card game, it is really good.
The card game? Yeah, I have it. T and I have played it.
We have some friends that have a ton of the expansions.
I don't have any.
Yeah. Like they come over with like a Tupperware like box just like full of cards, and it's super like this.
And you start getting like fish and tackle boxes for like some of my games.
It's really fun. I haven't played it very much, and I've only played like sort of one-off scenarios rather than doing a full like deck building campaign sort of thing, which I think adds a lot to the game certainly. Because that's the fun, one of the big draws to it. But I've played a lot with just sort of like, here's a set of cards, build a deck, like we'll do a one-off scenario, and it's really good. So I'd like to play that more. Okay, well, you can go if you want.
I do want. I hate you people.
We can do we'll do the sign off, and then I can like edit the game in beforehand afterwards.
So that people aren't spoiled.
Yeah,
and then a Shadorra will suddenly appear. It'll be good.
That's fine. Thanks everybody for hanging out. This has been week 9. We will see you next week for week 10. So close to playoffs. It's already.
Hopefully,
it doesn't
I
feel
will
like
be
it.
locked.
Does not feel like it. Continue to let us know if there's any games that you think are interesting. Otherwise, we'll probably pick ones that have the most playoff implications from here on forward, because we're going to start getting into the point where matches could lock people for playoffs. So we'll be paying attention to those ones for the most part, regardless of what div they're from. Hope you had a good time, and we will see you next week. So until then, I'm in Steakmittens.
And I'm Shadorra.
And we will see you then.